When I was in high school, I was a very focused student. And then I went to college and I continued working on my focus, and my focus grew immensely. When I was about to graduate, I was at the peak of my focus, and then I got into the rut of scrolling and being on social media so much, or multitasking, and everything was going down the drain. So I've been struggling with focus for about a year. And to demonstrate the extent to which I have been suffering with this condition, let me paint a picture. Imagine me sitting behind a desk to work on an essay. I would spend a minute thinking about what I'm going to write, and then I would have nothing, and immediately I'd give up. And immediately after, I would go on my phone to distract myself from this excruciating feeling of failure. This has been a recurring theme in my life. I have had so much difficulty managing my attention, and I have tried to get into deep work without actually achieving it. So I was desperate for a way out of all of this. At times, I felt like I was going insane, and I thought there's no way that I'm ever going to break this stubborn loop of stagnation. And I thought I was broken without any cure, and my hope would completely diminish upon noticing my scattered attention. It got so worse that when I was trying to watch a lecture, or heck, even like listening to someone talking right in front of me, face to face, I would find myself lost at the second sentence. It's as if my thoughts were trying to jump in. So one day, as I was scrolling on my phone, I felt this deep despair, like I was drowning myself in a deep ocean of nonsense. And in that moment, I knew that it's ruining my life. I have become a complete wreck, and that was my reality. So I took a deep breath and got out of the app immediately, which was Instagram at the time. And with all the courage that I could possibly muster, I clicked on the app and deleted it without so much of a hesitation. From there, I started deleting other addictive apps I had on my phone. And slowly but surely, I saw my phone being empty. So empty, in fact, that I didn't find it interesting anymore. It became a boring device. And let me tell you something. It's not like I was a complete consumer at the time. No. At the time, I was working as a content creator and posting my stuff on Instagram. It was my job in a way. But I knew deep down, I knew that my job didn't matter anymore. I had to rescue myself from that bout of stagnation. I was repeating myself every single day. No new activity, no new added knowledge. Just scrolling for the sake of scrolling, I guess. It was pure FOMO, fearing that I might miss out on a great opportunity, or I might lose a trend. And the only cure was to count to 5 and get out. That was it. I decided that it was enough. And now that I got out of that addiction, now I thought to myself, what am I supposed to do? The first thing that I did was to stop posting and going completely off radar. No activity on social media, no nothing. I would only attend to myself. I started reading every single day. I would wake up and work out and start reading. It was hard at first to read hard classic books, so I started reading non-fictions like Atomic Habits, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, both of which I would highly recommend. And another book that I remember was very effortless but full of wisdom is this book from Haruki Murakami, What I Talk About When I Talk About Running. It was an inspiring read because it got me into running again, which is another activity I started doing for my focus. And I can guarantee that any type of physical activity will impact your ability to concentrate in a great way. Physical activity is a way to process your emotions and get in charge of your own body and your mood. That's also something Murakami talks about. Here's a line from the book. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Say you're running and you think, man, this hurts. I can't take it anymore. The hurt part is an unavoidable reality. But whether or not you can stand anymore is up to the runner himself. And here's another thing that Murakami talks about that I really love. And it goes like this. For me, running is both exercise and a metaphor. Running day after day, piling up the races bit by bit, I raise the bar. And by clearing each level, I elevate myself. At least that's why I've put in the effort day after day to raise my own level. I'm no great runner by any means. I'm at an ordinary or perhaps more like mediocre level. But that's not the point. The point is whether or not I improved over yesterday. In long distance running, the only opponent you have to beat is yourself, the way you used to be. And here's another quote that I really enjoyed because I actually feel the same and I hadn't been able to actually put the words to it. And he puts it very perfectly. And it goes like this: so the fact that I'm me and no one else is one of my greatest assets. Emotional hurt is the price a person has to pay in order to be independent. Isn't that just a gem? And so for me, reading was actually a breaking point out of that chaos that I was facing. That was the beginning of a new era for my life, which is the era of focus and concentration and being at peace with myself. And as a Muslim, I started to read Quran much more than before, and it brought me out of that shallow way of thinking. It opened my eyes and made me realize that these worldly contents that I was consuming was diminishing my faith little by little. It might not feel significant in the beginning, but as you keep consuming contents that are just not in alignment with your faith, it makes you want to live in the same lavish worldly ways as well. Even though you don't care about having a luxurious house or a car or being respected, it actually slowly slips into your heart and you'll lose focus on the big picture and what really matters to you. And that's another aspect of focus, which is far more important than the smaller dimension of focus. It's like having the right mindset, which will inevitably maximize your concentration. So if you're struggling to focus on what matters, take a look at what you're feeding your mind. Maybe you're comparing yourself with the wrong group of people, or maybe it's that you don't know what matters to you anymore. And until you figure out who you truly are and what truly matters to you, I don't think you can even start to focus on any given task. You need to get your belief system right, whatever that might be. I'm not saying that like it's necessarily Islamic belief system. I'm saying that you need to know who you are. And you need to get out of that worldly mentality in order to rise above it and have a bulletproof, indistractable mindset. And for any mindset to stay and stick with you, you have to reinforce it every single day. In fact, that's why we Muslims have 5 prayers per day. We wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. to pray, and that early we set our intention to focus on our Creator and not get distracted by worldly affairs. So we actually are reminding ourselves that the path that we are on is to purify our soul even more every single day of our life. And if we are working hard on any given task, it's just because we are doing it to get nearer to our Creator. And focusing on my prayers helped me improve my focus tremendously. It got me to purify my mindset and have a clear mind so that I am capable of distinguishing what matters and what doesn't, and what is right and what is wrong, so that my mind is organized. And I have this prayer that I repeat to myself: Oh Allah, take me away from everything that takes me away from you. If a knowledge or a notion doesn't bring you closer to your Creator, it is not true. Period. That's it. Like how we interpret life is like that, and you have to have a system to interpret your life. Otherwise, you'd be like having this cognitive dissonance and everything would just pierce through your mind without you having any filter to filter out the nonsense, and you don't even have any ability to distinguish between right and wrong. So always keep in mind to check in with your philosophy. Ask yourself constantly, does this make me a better servant to my Creator? If the answer is yes, then keep doing it, and if it's no, then drop it immediately. If it's not bringing you closer to your creator, then it's taking you away from him. There's no neutrality in this regard. You must constantly seek the good, otherwise the evil will fill you and permeate your soul. There's no such thing as being empty of good and evil. There is always one or the other, constantly piercing through your mind without your awareness. Keep your focus on your creator and you'll absorb all the good in the world. Your mood is gonna change, and inevitably every distraction that you had before is gonna go out of the window because your inclination is gonna be purely directed toward the good in the world, and your only mindset is gonna be full of solution. Know that God has a plan, and all you need to do is to focus on your purpose and do whatever it requires, no matter how hard. Keep doing the right thing. God will bless you with strength. And the reason why I'm talking about this big picture focus is that if this doesn't exist, if you don't know what really matters to you and what you want to get out of life, then you're actually not ever going to be able to focus on anything. Or if you focus on any sort of activity, it's going to be for a short period of time and you're going to be oscillating between one area to another because you don't even know what actually you are going toward. You don't know the objective. You don't know the overall goal. You don't know that big picture. So the ultimate goal should be, first of all, registered. And after you find that firm ground, you can then go on to fortify your mental capacity and try to focus on your cognitive function and incorporate activities into your life that makes you sharper and more focused. And so if we are talking about cognitively strengthening activities, I would refer to another activity which is absolutely something that I beg you to do. It's writing. When you're writing, everything in your mind that has been so scattered and all over the place, you are tidying it up. You are organizing it. You're giving it flesh. And so it doesn't make you go mad, because if you don't process your thoughts, they're going to overlap, and at the end you're going to be very distracted because you haven't figured out what you're thinking about. You're not actually in control of your thoughts because you haven't actually made it a proactive process. It's just happening in your head and you're just going about your day without even paying attention to them and directing them. And the process that is happening when you're writing something down is you taking control of your thoughts. It's you taking control of what thinking you want to pursue, and not just like happening by itself in your head very passively and reactively in a way. You will become proactive when you start writing. And being proactive is actually the first step to having a focused brain. That's the function of your prefrontal cortex. It is something that controls everything. And if you use prefrontal lobe very much on a daily basis, then it's gonna be strengthened in your ability to focus and to concentrate. Your thoughts on one specific thing is going to fly into the sky. Another activity which I do on a daily basis is using puzzles to fortify your mind. And whenever you're focusing on something that is cognitively challenging, you are training your mind to be in a focused state at all times. So for me, I do play Sudoku and chess on a daily basis. And the thing that I love about this is that it's like a fun activity that you can do as a hobby, and it doesn't even have to be that hard and difficult. You just can do it and enjoy it at the same time. So it's just the best recipe for enhancing your concentration. And something that is actually quite similar to writing is planning your day, trying to write down the to-do list, because you have to know what you want to get done that day. Otherwise your brain is going to be all over the place, and you don't want that to happen. So make yourself focus on certain activities throughout your day and make that one thing that you actually concentrate on for the whole day. Your mind is going to be working in the background when you're doing other passive activities, or you're just taking a walk. You can actually see yourself solving problems that you were not able to solve when you were in the thick of the problem. And now that you are much more lighter in terms of the activity that you're doing, you can give your mind some space to figure out what you were doing in the past. So that's what I try to do. I try to have a solid plan for my day so that my mind is always thinking about that plan and it's not wandering into other unknown, distracted areas. And I have like one area to focus on, and I am limiting myself in a way that is going to make me even more creative. So like the more you limit yourself and the more you focus on certain activities, the better your creativity is going to be. And that's how I try to manage myself. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope that it was useful, and I will be talking about writing, reading, certain areas of learning, anything that comes along, and things that I actually feel drawn to and I'm curious about, and I want to actually expand my own knowledge on that area. I do these video essays on those things because I am learning and I'm sharing at the same time. And thank you actually for listening to me, because it makes me feel great when I know that maybe at some point my video sparked even the tiniest idea in the mind of my audience. And if you actually got anything out of it, you can maybe comment and let me know if this was useful to you. Thank you for listening again, and I'll talk to you next time.